This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
Welcome back. Episode number 20 of To the Front. And no, I'm not in my normal studio / office. I'm actually in Vicenza, Italy. I know it doesn't look very Italy. I'm in the room, and the courtyard of the Airbnb that I'm staying at is kind of in the middle of the place. A lot of people still sleeping when I'm filming this, so you get my Airbnb. But that doesn't make this episode less important, whether you're checking us out on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, because this is a solo episode for episode number 20. And I want to share something with you today that has literally, and I'm not kidding you, has literally changed my life over the last 9 months. But before that, a quick story. I remember one of the times when I faced rejection, the most poignant was in middle school. And if you remember middle school, you probably remember the moments of potential rejection. Maybe that was when you were asking that girl or guy if you could have their phone number, and it wasn't a cell phone. Probably it was like a landline. Maybe it was getting that actual physical report card put in your hands, and then you had to take that to your parents. Or maybe, and this was the story for me, it was about trying out for that sports team. Now, for me, it was middle school basketball. And I remember after the tryouts, they made you come the next day, and you had to walk to the office where they had a paper posted to the door, and you had to go down through in front of all your friends and see if your name was on it. Well, I faced rejection, but I wasn't rejected. In fact, my name was on there. My brother's name was on there. And for 3 years, actually, we got to play middle school basketball for Beaumont Middle. And I remember it was such an exciting time, even though I kind of sat the bench quite a bit. But my 8th grade year, we had a coach named Coach Fannin, and he was a fantastic coach. But the thing that I remember about him was that whenever he needed us to go forward or do something, he would scream, "Move, move," and he would stomp his foot. Remember, this is back when you would wear ties to coach basketball games. And so I can still hear his voice in my head saying, "Move, move." You probably have a coach or a teacher or somebody that you can hear saying that in your head. Well, 8 months ago, I woke up and I actually paused. And for some reason, I remembered Coach Fannin. And the reality is that while I was doing lots of great things in life and leading Front Runner and print shops and all kinds of things, I really wasn't working on me. In fact, if you had to describe me, it wasn't move, it was stay and hold on. And maybe you've had that same thought about your life. It just feels like you're sort of staying and holding on. But it was that morning that I heard Coach Fannin in my head. Move, do something, grow, go forward. That wasn't like I wasn't doing that already in my businesses, but it was for me personally. I was walking through a bunch of stuff in our family, nothing terrible, but decisions and life decisions and next moves. And I woke up and I said, you know what? I need to move myself. I need to go forward. And I decided that every single morning for the first 2 hours was going to be about me. I know that sounds selfish and all these things, but I found out that if I was going to be the best leader, if I was going to be the best dad, if I was going to be the best husband, I had to personally take the first 2 hours of my day and move. I had to do something for me that moved the ball forward, that moved life forward, that moved me personally forward so that I could be better in all the areas of my life. And so today's episode of To the Front is going to be a short one, but I want to give you 3 things to think about as you move your life forward in whatever you're looking to move forward in. And I'm a big believer that move in your life or go forward for you. I'm a big believer that that's at the beginning of the day. I really am. In fact, almost every great leader, coach, whatever I see, almost always their mornings are exactly the same. So 8 months ago, I decided that my mornings, Monday through Friday at least, were going to be exactly the same as much as I could help it. And so I just thought about the word from Coach, move. And I said, all right, I got to move 3 things in my life every single morning. I got to tell you, for the last 8 months, it's changed everything. And here's the first thing that I do. So I wake up, and the first thing I do is I've got to move my body. That's right. If you want to be a great leader, great husband, great dad, great wife, great whatever, I'm a big believer that you have to move the vessel that God gave you. You see, in moving the vessel that God gave you is not the normal, ordinary stuff. It's the exercise, it's the run, it's the workout, it's the yoga, it's whatever it is. I believe first thing in the morning, you've got to get up and work that which God gave you. And I believe that is your body. You know, one time I heard from a teacher, and I'll never forget this. He said, do you know that the minute you're born is the minute you begin dying? That's kind of creepy. That's kind of weird to think about. But if you think about it deeply, it's true. Is that the minute you are born, you will never live as long than the first minute you're born all the way till the end, right? Because life is kind of like an old wind-up clock. It kind of winds up and you're born, and boom, you bust onto this earth. And the reality is from that moment on, it will kind of wind down for however long God gives you to live. So what does that mean? That means if we're like a clock that's being unwound, we got to keep a hold and keep training and keep bettering the gears and all the things that are inside of us. We have to move our body. So what do? I got up and I started to do simple workouts. Now, listen, I'm not the glowing example of what it means to be a bodybuilder or someone who's in crazy great physique. But in fact, I didn't even worry about that when I started. I didn't worry about how long or how far or how hard I was going to move my body. I just started doing it. In fact, I didn't even have a time limit. I was like, wait, if I go 5 minutes, fine. If I go 10 minutes, fine. Because it was less about the actual amount of hours or times or reps or whatever it is. It's about the simple habit of waking up and saying, I am going to move my body, because I know when I move my body, it makes me better mentally and physically, and helps me be a better leader, dad, coach, whatever it is you're striving to be. So I joined a gym, and so every morning I'm at the gym usually by 5:30 or 6 a.m. Again, I believe it's a morning thing. I know some of you night owls are like, you always people say it's in the morning. I really do, and here's why I believe mornings are the best for moving your body, is because life happens, doesn't it? And if you're a move your body kind of person in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, yeah, hopefully that works out for you. But and I know that life happens and that things come up, and it's too easy when the day's going to put moving your body to the side. So I just do it first thing, and I do it every morning, 5:30 to 6, Monday through Friday. Now, Saturday and Sunday, I kind of push it off to the side. I got to tell you, I'm actually addicted to it now. I'm probably addicted to the endorphins, the dopamine that it releases. But truly, I cannot start my day Monday through Friday without moving my body in some way. And I encourage you to do the same. But here's the big deal about it. Don't focus on necessarily the results. I know that sounds weird. Just focus on the action. Even if it's simple, a 10-minute walk, a 5-minute stretch. Heck, if you do want to go lift weights or go at it hard, because it doesn't necessarily, it's going to sound weird. At first, it doesn't matter about the results. It just matters about being in the action of moving your body. So that's number one. And then what do I do after I shower at the gym? I know some of you might be grossed out, but I do. It's easy. It keeps my shower at home clean, and that makes my wife happy. But after I move my body, I make sure that I've got to move my pen, or move your pen. In other words, the second thing that I started doing every morning right after is I had to journal. In fact, it's nothing fancy. It just kind of looks like this. It's just got, I can put that up there because I know nobody can read my handwriting. I should have been a doctor, but not really, because nobody here wants me to be operating on them. But I just started to journal every single day. And again, just like moving my body, I had no intention for this other than just doing the action. I wasn't caring about the results. So what do I journal? I journal everything from how I'm feeling that day, or what happened the day before, or things that I'm worried about. If you're a person of faith, you could be writing down your prayers, because I believe God answers those. It doesn't really matter what you're putting in here. What really matters is the action that you did. And I got to tell you is that it has been life-giving to go back and to read each day when I was going through. And here's what I found out. I found out life is not as really bad as I thought it was. I found out that oftentimes things I would put in my journal that I was worried about, anxious about, I would come back a week later and I was actually not worried or anxious about those things at all. In fact, what it taught me is that I worried too much. I was too anxious. It also taught me that, again, if you're a person of faith, if you're not, that's okay. We can still be in the same family together. But I found that things that I pray about, I would actually forget that I prayed about them, and then God would answer my prayers, and that would remind me when I went back that God actually answered that prayer. I would write down challenges in my journal and go back and see that all these challenges had either been conquered or they weren't actually challenges at all. And it doesn't mean that if you just write it down that the challenge goes away or it gets solved, but what it does, it gets it out of your head and out of your heart, and it gets it onto paper. I started to move my pen every single day. And I got to tell you, I used to make fun of people that journaled, but never again. Why? Because it helps me to work out what's going inside of here. You know what happens if you don't get stuff on pen or write it or wherever you're going to journal? It stays inside. It does. Now, the good things sure start to bud up and to make you better. But what happens to the negative things, the toxic things, the self-doubt, the anxiety that stays inside? You know what happens there? If you don't get it out somehow, it only rots you from within. It's true. In fact, things that you're worried about, anxious about, mad about, they turn into toxins. They turn into negativity. They turn into hatred. They turn into a whole myriad of emotions that aren't helpful to grow you as a business leader, as a coach, as a husband, wife, spouse, son, daughter, whatever it is you're looking to grow in. So move your pen. Again, just like moving your body, I don't worry about how much I write. Some days I write 2 or 3 or 4 pages. Some days, literally, I write a paragraph. Doesn't really matter. I don't put any restrictions on myself. In fact, oftentimes I do it while I'm sitting at Waffle House. Yes, I know that sounds counterintuitive to work out and then go to Waffle House, but I don't care, right? Because I like Waffle House. The point is the action of just writing something down first thing in the morning. It's so important. So move your body, move your pen. And lastly, and this is a big believer in this, move your mind. I did an episode a few weeks ago on the top 5 books to read as an agent or as a business leader in the new year. And that was part of the fruit of starting this about 8 months ago. I remember I was only reading a couple, 2, 3, 4 books a year. And now I'm ingesting a book almost every single week. And again, sometimes the books are long, sometimes they're short. But I got to tell you, I'm a better leader, better person, because now I start every morning by moving my mind. And this is what's most important. When you're moving your mind in the morning, it should not be a part of your job or something that you are having to finish or a project. That's not moving your mind. That's work. Moving your mind is reading something that has nothing to do necessarily with an objective that you have to achieve. Now, it could be a business book. It could be a self-help book. It could be a novel. It could be fiction. For me, it doesn't really matter. It's just that I'm going to start every morning by asking myself, what can I pick up and read that will make me a better person, leader, coach, father, husband, Christian, whatever it is you're going after. I will never live my life going forward without having some sort of book that I'm reading. And I go back and forth between nonfiction, documentary, faith-based, non-faith-based business books. I read all kinds of stuff. And again, just like moving your body and moving your pen, I don't focus on how much every day. I just focus on a little bit of it. I got to tell you, I find that it's not, after doing this for 8 months, I find that I don't have to force myself to pick up something and read. I want to do it. I crave it. Half price books has become my best friend. In fact, now I've got shelves, even though I'm a little bit of a minimalist. I do sort of start to stack up books. And here's what I do with every book that I have. Whenever I finish it, I put it on my shelf, and then I start to pray, say, man, Lord, could you reveal to me one person that just needs that book? Now, I don't want to be that guy that hands off stuff that people don't want. So I just leave it on the shelf, and then I can't tell you how many times somebody's come in with an issue or problem or concern. And I said, you know what? I read a book on that, and I'll share with something of them. They're like, you know what? I need to pick that book up. I'll say, hey, you don't have to do that. Go to my shelf, pick it up, give it to them. I usually write a little note in the front, a little note of encouragement to that person. I said, this is your book. I want to pass it on to you. And my only ask is that if it means something to you, maybe you pass it to somebody else. Move your mind. So move your body, move your pen, move your mind. I believe if you start every day like that, by moving, just like what Coach Fannin said, that life just gets better. I didn't say it gets easier. Life is hard. Wouldn't you agree? Life is hard. Leading a business is hard. Leading a family is hard. Leading yourself is hard. But there's an illustration that says, put the big rocks in first. You know that illustration? It's got the jar, it's got the rocks and the pebbles and the sand. And it says to get everything in, you got to put the big rocks in, and then the pebbles, and then the sand, and yada, yada, yada. Well, I do believe that you should start each day putting the big rocks in first. I believe that's moving your body, moving your pen, moving your mind. And for you, that could look different. You don't have to do it how I do it. But my biggest encouragement to you, do not focus on the results. And I know that sounds really weird because we are results-driven people in everything that we do. Focus just on the action. And here's my promise. The results do come. Like if you need to lose weight or feel like you've got more control over your body or just not get so winded walking up the stairs, I promise you, there's no way that doesn't happen if you make it a point just to move your body every morning. I promise you that you will be a more healthy, you will be healthier emotionally by just moving your pen, by putting things into a journal. You can't be less healthy. You can only be more, right? Because I believe that when you get things out, it's on pen, it's on paper, maybe it's a good friend on the phone, that people and that results and circumstances can help you cope. I believe we are not meant to keep things in, and that's why you want to move your pen. And then the third thing is you want to move your mind. Is that you can't wake up every day and read and not be smarter, wiser, more intuitive because you decided to move your mind. You should be a lifelong learner. I don't care what age you are. That there's always something new to learn, some new thing to open your mind to, and you'll only be better for it. Okay, so that's episode number 20 of To the Front. I hope this was helpful, something I've been doing 8 months. Maybe it will be helpful to you as well. So thanks again for staying with us. And if you are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get it. And until then, lead your life, lead yourself courageously. Move your body, move your pen, move your mind. Until next time, take care.